Hi, welcome to Algebra 2 Easy. We are talking about graphing trig functions today, specifically cosine functions. What you see here is exactly what we discussed in our last video, graphing sine functions. If this doesn't look familiar and it's a little odd, then I recommend that you go back and watch the video from Wednesday. Yesterday we talked about period and amplitude, and we're really going to talk more about that amplitude today. Let's start with our first problem. Graphing f of x equals cosine of x. First thing we want to do is determine what the value of a is and the value of b. Remember, the value of a is in front of cosine. So we assume, since there's no number here, the value of a is 1. The value of b is the number attached to x. There is no number there, so again, we're going to assume it's a 1. A gives me the value of my amplitude, so my amplitude is 1. The period is going to be 2 pi divided by b. So we're going to take that value 1 and put it in the denominator there. 2 pi divided by 1 is 2 pi. Now we're going to make our table. And if you recall from yesterday, our table will always start with 0. Now we need to figure out what are the other values for x in our table. And we just need 4 more values. So what we're going to do is take the period, which we know is 2 pi, and we're going to ask ourselves, what should we count by? We're going to take 2 pi divided by 4, because that's how many more points we need. We need 4 more points. 2 pi over 4 simplifies to pi over 2. We are going to count by pi over 2 units. I'm going to zoom in. So here we're going to have pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, and 4 pi over 2. Okay, so we're going to take a second and we're going to simplify these values. Pi over 2 doesn't simplify, so we're just going to leave it as pi over 2. 2 pi over 2 simplifies to pi. 3 pi over 2 stays the same. It's going to be just 3 pi over 2. And 4 pi over 2 simplifies to 2 pi. Now we're going to go ahead and plug in our x values and figure out what the y values are. Cosine of 0, well, cosine of 0 is 1. Cosine of pi over 2 is 0. Cosine of pi is negative 1. Cosine of 3 pi over 2 is 0. And cosine of 2 pi is back to 1. So here we have our ordered pairs, 0, 1, pi over 2 and 0, pi negative 1, 3 pi over 2, 0, 2 pi and 1. Now let's graph those, starting with 0, 1, 0, and up 1 unit. So we're going to be right here. You may not be sure where pi over 2 is since it's not labeled. Let's plot the ones we can see, and then we'll deal with everything else. So we took care of 0, 1. Let's go to pi negative 1 because I see pi on my number line here. So pi negative 1. And then let's go down to 2 pi and 1. Now, since these values are evenly spaced, if you're unsure of where an angle measure is located, look between the 2 points you've already plotted and go halfway in between. So 2 units in on both sides. That means pi over 2 is going to be right here in between 0 and pi. So now we can plot pi over 2 and 0. And again, 3 pi over 2 is going to be in the middle of pi and 2 pi, which is going to be right there. You'll always be able to see patterns like this with sine and cosine functions, so definitely be looking for them. All right, here is our cosine function. We're going to connect our points nice and smooth. And it looks like a wave, just like the wave we saw yesterday with a sine function. This is going to be problem number 2. F of x is equal to 3 cosine of 2x. So first things first, your value of a this time is 3. The value of b is 2. So my amplitude is the absolute value of a. Well, the absolute value of 3 is 3. The period, again, we're going to take that b value and we're going to take 2 pi divided by b. So 2 pi divided by 2 is pi. Time to put the values in our table. We always start with 0, and now we just need to figure out how are we going to fill out these other 4 values in the table. we're going to take our period and divide by 4 because we want 4 values. Now, unlike the last problem, this does not simplify, so we are going to count by pi over 4. So I'm going to come over here and start counting. 1 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, and 4 pi over 4. All right, let's simplify those. Pi over 4 is going to stay the same. 2 pi over 4 is going to become pi over 2. 3 pi over 4 will stay the same. And then 4 pi over 4 will become pi. All right, we have a little bit more math to do this time because we have a number being multiplied by x and then a number being multiplied by our ratio. So let's dive on in. 3 times cosine of 2 times 0. I want you to evaluate 2 times 0 first. So multiply that together. 3 cosine of 0. Well, cosine of 0 is 1. So we have 3 times 1. 3 times 1 is 3. So my first y value is going to be 3. So we have the ordered pair 0, 3. Let's keep going. 3 cosine of 2 times pi over 4. We get 3 cosine of, if we multiply that, we get pi over 2. So 3 times cosine of pi over 2. Well, cosine of pi over 2 is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. So now we have our second ordered pair. 3 cosine of 2 times pi over 2. So 3 cosine of pi. Well, cosine of pi is -1. So we have 3 times -1, which is going to be -3. So now we have our third order pair. Just a couple more times and we'll be good. I'm going to speed this one up a little bit. We have 2 times 3 pi over 4. That's going to become 3 pi over 2. Cosine of 3 pi over 2 is going to be 0. And 3 times 0 is 0. Now we have our fourth ordered pair. Last one, 3 cosine, 2 times pi, which is simply 2 pi. Cosine of 2 pi is 1. And our fifth and final ordered pair is pi and 3. Now we can go ahead and plot our points. Let's start with 0, 3. Pi over 4 and 0. Again, I'm not sure where pi over 4 is. So I'm going to go ahead and graph pi over 2. Pi over 2, -3. I remember that pi over 2 is right in the middle of 0 and pi. Not sure where 3 pi over 4 is, so I'm going to skip it and go to pi and 3. Now I can figure out what is halfway between these 2 points. So I'm looking at this point, and I'm going to go in the same distance, and it looks like this right here is going to be pi over 4. And the ordered pair was pi over 4 and 0. And sure enough, this point right here is 3 pi over 4, comma 0. And now we have our wave or our curves. There we go. So it's exactly the same graph we had last time. In fact, I'm going to sketch the graph we had last time right on here and just show you what it looks like. This was the last graph that we had, graphed just cosine. You still have to have the exact same figure, same shape, same patterns in this number of units. And as you can see, with an amplitude of 3, it was stretched up and down further, making it much more narrow. I hope this helped. Tomorrow, we're going to take a look at tangent functions and how to graph them. Have a great night.